Well, it certainly took us long enough to get to Tiamat. Let's see what she's got for us then. I can't help noticing that the only bosses to get proper names around here have been the women. I also can't help noticing I keep forgetting the name of the boss of the volcano, even though I felt that was the best dungeon in the game. I'm sorry to say that your sprite isn't anything especially memorable there, ma'am. Sure, you're distinct as hell, nothing else like you in the game, and the pose is certainly pretty dynamic. But I've seen a lot of dragons over the decades, a decent number of which had multiple heads as well. But it's going to take a lot more than that to stick out in my mind like the likes of King Ghidorah. Why do I doubt that Earthquake is going to do anything to a dragon who isn't even touching the ground? Okay, so she hits hard and poor me doesn't seem to be doing much damage in return. That could be a problem, and unless I'm misreading things, she's about as resistant to magic as she is to physical strikes. Okay, that's certainly better from Boromir. Well, ice magic seems more effective than lightning. That's gotta be something. We'll see if fire has even more bite than that. Lovely. Too bad for her, our team is pretty resistant to status effects by now. Definitely feels like ice has more an effect than the other two elements. Okay, why am I not throwing around the high-level ice spells since I bothered probing what Tiamat's potential weaknesses are? That's slightly better from Wesker, but again, why am I not going with the higher level ice spells? A low level spell isn't gonna mean a damn thing against a boss of her caliber. And frankly, we should be done trying to conserve MP in this dungeon. We've made it through the gauntlet. This is our final challenge in here. Let Wesker go wild. For that matter, why am I not using more multi-target healing spells this far in? Well, at least I'm willing to change up what spells our white mage uses. Tyson, is there a reason your punches had so much less impact on that particular try? I'm sure the damage numbers are affected by some unseen dice rolls, but come on. The range of these hits feels a bit too wide for my taste. The only consistent hit seems to be Blizzard, and we should use a more powerful version of Blizzard to hit even harder. Am I really that hung up on the fact that the descriptions for the higher level Black Mage spells say they're meant for more than one target? Sure, Morn is keeping our health up pretty well, so we aren't in a major hurry to finish this, but Morn can't keep that up forever. Not at the rate he's spending MP. Seriously, what's making Boromir and Tyson whiff so many strikes? Well, that wasn't the best we've ever fought by a long shot, but hey, we managed to beat the boss. That makes all 4 elemental crystals restored. I must be doing something right. All that's left in the game is the final dungeon. The end is near. Or relatively near, at least. Right. The last of the bonus dungeons that I have no interest in is unlocking. Really makes me feel guilty for not liking the extra content they put into the PSP version, but frankly, the extra content they threw in was just for the sake of making the game longer, not for the sake of making the entire experience more fun. And I feel pretty satisfied with the length of the base game, thank you very much. I possibly said this in an earlier dungeon, but getting into a random encounter in the boss fight room just doesn't feel right. We should be done! Just let us get to the teleport pad and leave! I suppose if I was in a grinding mood, I'd walk down every flight we went through just to get up here, but I'm already fairly confident we're strong enough to take on the final dungeon. No need to fight more and more regular enemies just to buff ourselves up some more before we get to the next major destination. Besides, I'm pretty sure I've had my fill of regular fights over the course of this game, and we've got even more to come when we get to the final dungeon. If anything, the quality of the fights we've been going through is making me feel pretty complacent this far in. There haven't been all that many bumps in the road to get us this far in. Why should I expect any trouble as we keep making progress to close this book? Well, that takes care of taking some rest. Now to resupply and possibly get Boromir a few healing spells for the sake of it. There's also one errand we need to run in order to get the best sword in the game, but there's no hurry. We won't run into any trouble until we actually enter the final dungeon anyway, and dear God, it's gonna be a long one. Understandable since it's the last one, so they're gonna make it as tough as they can get away with, but still. Well, you're new. I would have liked some warning that there was someone new in Cornelia. Apparently, we talked to him once and he leaves town. Nobody around here reacts at all to the strange robed man who was standing here and mentioned the Chaos Shrine, so I'm assuming he's something extra for the PSP version? Huh. Why isn't the character, who's essentially a paladin, able to learn the spell that lets him magically harm the undead? It's not that big of a thing, we've already got plenty of ways to deal damage that are more effective than that spell, but that sort of thing kinda caught me off guard. Anyway, our next stop is the Dwarven Cave. We've got some adamantite to hand out, and there's a certain smith who would be very eager to work with such a metal that most players would actually probably forget if they weren't looking at a guide. Sorry, wrong room. It's been a while since we've been in here after all. There we go! Wish I could chuckle at the fact that the only blacksmith we run into in the entire game is called Smith, but I'm more inclined to groan at the fact that most players would probably forget this guy even existed. Well, I hope we make good use of it, sir. I also hope that we won't end up grabbing a better sword than this for poor me in the dungeon we're about to enter. That would certainly be embarrassing. Yeah, that's quite a few steps up from what we have on us right now. Part of me feels like we should sell the stuff that's obsolete equipment for us. The other part just finds it ridiculous at the fact that we have so much money that selling an obscene amount of gear would only be useful for emptying our pockets. And it's not like I have any idea what the item limit is in this game. We certainly haven't seen any sign that it's limited in the 30 clips we've gone through, that's for sure. Anyway, time to start the obscenely long journey through the final dungeon. A journey that, according to my raw footage, will take me... Oh, good God. It is downright insane to see how far we have left to go, considering how far we've already come. Ugh. But we've made it this far, and I am certainly tenacious enough at the moment to feel like we can make it all the way. Huh. Why would using the 4 elements cause time and space to start getting shaky? I mean, sure, we heard that the monsters have been causing trouble for an obscenely long time, but I'd prefer to make the world of today safe and make sure it will stay safe for the future. Going backwards in time feels a little out of nowhere for me around here. Granted, the game doesn't really have a narrative of any kind, so us suddenly needing to go to the past isn't really derailing anything. Still, I would have liked more warning. That was what we were going to be doing, and if anyone earlier in the game mentioned that as a way to solve all our problems, they did so in a way that didn't stick to my mind. Anyway, sorry for the quick brawls with extremely low-level enemies in here. I kind of wanted to double-check if I grabbed everything we need in this opening section of the Chaos Shrine, though apparently I just want no part of whatever secret door that roach guy opened. Ugh. I suppose the walls and floor look nicer now, understandable after such a long rewind. The environment isn't really giving me a sense of what to expect as random encounters, though. I suppose after the Mirage Tower and Flying Fortress, I shouldn't care all that much about the game not doing anything about theming the enemies with the environment we find them in. Still, every shrine before that point seemed to give a damn about that sort of thing, so please excuse me for having some expectations here. Not too sure what to say about the music in the background at this point. It's certainly trying its hardest to be something epic at the moment, but this tune just doesn't seem to be anything especially memorable. At least not to me. And that's not going to be helped by the fact that the same old battle music we've been hearing since the beginning is going to just keep on interrupting it at random intervals. "30 clips, and I still wish I had some idea of which members of our team will strike first. It's just such a basic bit of information for us to have as we make decisions in battle, but no, we have to wait for later entries in this franchise before we get that kind of information." Well, it certainly didn't take us long to find the staircase. For some odd reason, I thought we'd be going up, not down, but I suppose any direction is progress. Or at least it would be if I could figure out the bloody maps I have to work with. When I get to Final Fantasy V and VI, I'm definitely going to appreciate using the Pixel Remastered in-game maps. I possibly should have done the Pixel Remaster for Final Fantasy IV as well, just so I don't have to fumble about with the maps that aren't even part of our in-game user interface. But I really want to have the option of doing the extra stuff from the PSP version. It's not great storytelling from it, but it's a bit of a novel thing to have the option to see what happens as the protagonists age after their main journey. Though, with most playthroughs of Final Fantasy IV, I'm very much satisfied with what we see once the credits roll, and not really tempted to go with the extra stuff from the PSP version. Still, nice to have the option if the urge comes up. And when I finally get into work and to the commentary of Final Fantasy IV, it is definitely going to be several steps up from this original game. I just wish I wasn't so inclined to skip over 2 and 3 altogether, so we'd see how the series properly evolved, instead of skipping those 2 very early steps. I'm fairly certain I mentioned in an earlier clip of this same game why I want to skip 2 and 3, but I feel like it's worth reiterating. 2 might be when the series actually started to do some good storytelling, but the level design and how your characters grow are just torture to work through. You pretty much have to understand the level up system well enough to absolutely break it. And the dungeons are a pain in the ass to navigate, even with the Pixel Remasters in-game maps to look at. Just miserable experiences. And for 3, well, the story goes back to being as simple as 1, and while the character class system is damn nice, you don't have as much room as I'd like to just personalize and do everything you want when you want to. Every boss fight is a puzzle, and you absolutely have to have the right combinations if you want to get through. And while you kind of have something like that in Final Fantasy V as well, it's nowhere near as obnoxious. Funnily enough, I got a good chunk of the way through recording 5 while working on the commentary of this game, but somehow lost momentum and haven't finished it yet. Definitely not gonna scrap what I've already recorded or start it over again, but it's actually kind of funny how deep in I got before I found myself losing interest for some reason. I'm looking forward to when I get around to working on that one. I'll probably continue recording it as I'm commenting on it. But as always, there are other games on my queue. As a side note, should I bother asking what makes a purple worm more dangerous than a sandworm, other than, of course, the fact that I don't think we've ever seen that color of worm before in the game? Or maybe we did and I somehow forgot about that? I mean, we have gotten into a lot of fights in this game. The random encounter system has a way of making the fights feel not so fun and just like forgettable busy work. Especially when you can finish the fight in one turn without even the slightest bit of tactical thought. Again, there's something to be said about having a random encounter system. It worked for role-player games for quite a long time and was one of the foundations of the genre. And moving away from random encounters can be about as awkward as a game series deciding to go from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. it can get incredibly awkward, and not every series could pull it off smoothly, even when they saw other series make that shift. Still, I'm sure some series tried to evolve that particular mechanic in a way that it didn't end up feeling annoying as all hell. Maybe one day I'll come across a role-player game that makes the random encounter mechanic feel genuinely good. Really wish I could give a damn about taking down 4 Shinras in one fight or gaining 10,000 gil at the end of it. It certainly didn't take me long to use up 15 potions. Maybe I should have brought more ethers before entering this place. This is, after all, the gauntlet to end all gauntlets. At the very least, in the base version of the game it is. I'm pretty sure the side dungeons that the PSP version added in would make the final dungeon seem easy in comparison, which is why I didn't bother to do any of them. The game doesn't have all that much in the way of story in the first place, so going out of my way to complete everything that the PSP decided to add into it would most definitely make the base final boss more of a joke than a challenge. And I'd prefer stories where it feels like the good guys saving the world was something they had to work for, not just another note on their checklist to finish. And to nobody's great surprise, the 2 physical fighters on the team are leagues ahead of the mages when it comes to physical attacks. I've already been getting the sense that, in terms of my playstyle, I should have had 3 physical fighters, and either a red or white mage for healing, but part of me always feels like it's somehow wrong not to have that iconic blue cloak and straw hat in our party in the first game, even if I never really use a black mage to their full potential. And Wesker has had some moments to shine over the course of this playthrough. Shame that it's been such a long, grueling journey that I can't remember anyone's especially amazing moments in it. Guess that's what I get for having this perspective on things. It's not like I know the inter-team dynamics, who's considered the leader of the whole crew, what their personalities are and all that. All I know are their names and their abilities. Is that dry like a martini, or dry as in they turned what's usually a drink into a powder or something? Well, we have everything we need to make progress from here. We just need to approach the pedestal from the right angle. Whew, nice use of the theme there.